So I want to ask you something off topic from RMG, right? You studied in the UK, I studied in the UK, right? When you came back, did you face questions like, "Oh, tomar British accent hoye geche?"
Yes.
Hello and welcome to another Bayla podcast. Good afternoon to everybody, good evening, good night, and wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. My guest today is Miss Raisha Sajjad, Director, Jamuna Apparels Ltd or Jamuna Apparels?
Jamuna Apparels.
Okay, so I got it right, 50-50, more or less. Raisha, welcome to Bayla podcast. So I'm gonna kick things off by asking you, how's 2022 been? What sort of a year has it been for you? Business-wise, life-wise?
So, business-wise, I think 2022 started off quite promising. I think the bounce back from the pandemic was quite reassuring. There were some good sales. The pandemic, I'm sure anyone in garments will agree with me here, was hard.
Yeah,
it
tough
was
year.
A very, very tough year for anyone involved in the garment industry, for people involved in the retail sector as well. And I mean, I applaud all of my colleagues across the supply chain, because I think that we demonstrated incredible resilience.
Yeah.
There were some, fantastic responses to some of the things that we were witnessing. Some of the purchasing practices, for example.
Yeah.
And I think as a result of a collective effort, as a result of sort of the industry coming together and recognizing what we needed to do as an industry as a whole, I think we made some good decisions.
Yeah.
And the recovery was good.
Yeah.
Now, however, I think we are facing some new challenges.
We've been crippled, would you say?
I would say, I wouldn't say we've been crippled. I think there's still scope for us to navigate a lot of the hurdles that we are going to face, some of the challenges that we're currently facing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're looking at supply chain disruptions now, inevitably.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of issues with regards to power and access to power. And by power, I mean sort of electricity and gas.
Yeah, it's not even like next year is going to be better, but a little bit in that regard. Like we're expecting turbulence ahead. What do you think?
I agree. I think next year is going to be testing.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, this is something I've said about the Bangladeshi garment industry time and time again, is that its ability to respond to circumstances is phenomenal. Like that agility, that resilience.
Yeah.
And it's not just a reflection of the industry, it's a reflection of the people in the industry. I think as a country, Bangladeshis have demonstrated a remarkable ability to withstand and grow in the face of adversity. And I think that we're going to do that again.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You think যে দেশে রানা প্লাজার মতো একটা ইভেন্ট হয়েছে, you think that an industry would just end an industry with a tragedy like that. And I don't want to give more power to it, but I do want to acknowledge that not only did we bounce back, we have ensured the second spot as top RMG exporting destination as a nation. So that's been big for us, and we are resilient. And when I speak to some seniors, like my father included, they always say that this is not the first storm that we've seen. No. People who've been in the trade, like you guys have been in since '91, if I'm not mistaken. So people like your dad, my dad, they've definitely seen ups and downs during their lifetime. So it's not like this is new, especially for people who've been in this. For our generation, though, it is new. We haven't witnessed much of this. I've been in this for 10 years. I did just witness Rana Plaza when I got back to Dhaka. I would say that's still the worst, but still, we've overcome hurdles, and it's a good thing that your usage of the word resilience is a good one. So I'm going to ask you something off topic from RMG, right? You studied in the UK, I studied in the UK, right? When you came back, did you face questions like, "Oh, tomar British accent hoye geche?"
Yes.
How did you tackle that? Because I faced it myself, right?
So, I mean, in my case, I think thankfully and perhaps not thankfully, the accent was always there. So I grew up in the UK, and then I spent some time in Bangladesh, and then went back to the UK again, and I came back about 4 years ago. There is a sense of, is this person an outsider?
Yeah.
And I think this sort of transcends the nationality, it transcends the accent.
Yeah.
I think as young directors, as young leaders, I think we face this challenge when we join the industry as to, what place do you have within an organization that is, born out of a Bangladeshi effort? There is a lot of merit in being exposed to some of the things that we have been having studied overseas, in terms of some of the outlooks that it gives you, in terms of, some of the ways of thinking. But importing some of those lessons and applying them in Bangladesh can face resistance.
It should pay off in the long run, but it faces a lot of resistance.
It faces a lot of resistance because, yes, the industry has been around for a while, but we're witnessing right now, I think, a sort of cultural shift in the way that we work. We're incorporating a lot more sort of modernization. There's a stronger digital component to how we work there, and there's an ideas transfer as well. So we're bringing concepts from overseas and this is something that I think Bangladesh will benefit from, being a relatively new country, in the sense that there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from other people's experiences that we're incorporating into our own practices.
Gaps in the market.
Exactly. Gaps in knowledge, gaps in the market, gaps in skills, etc. But change will never be without resistance. It will always be uncomfortable and it will always be received with skepticism. But I think, again, like you talked about Rana Plaza, in the aftermath of Rana Plaza, we've now got the highest number of LEED certified factories in the world. And this happened in only 11 years. It demonstrates our ability to take those lessons, to evolve as a result of what we can learn, and by implementing effective policy change.
For sure, I completely agree. That's a good way of putting it. And I imagine it's not, on the podcast, I never go like, oh, let's talk about the female card, because I've had female guests before, and I don't want to just ask them, oh, what's it like navigating a sea full of men? I mentioned that in the other room now, and it's because I don't want to ask that, because we all know it's difficult. We all know that it is not easy, especially a male-dominated industry. You would think it's male-dominated, but if you look at the numbers, it's actually female-dominated because of the laborers. If we count in the laborers, 60% of the industry is female. But you know what I'm talking about, like, at the managerial level, management level, এসব জায়গায় আমরা বেশি participation দেখি না. So it is good, and like, I really appreciate when I see people of our generation, especially girls or women, being involved in the industry, actively participating, taking interest. But that being said, we do this. I'm not a Kori because আমাদের বাবা মা বা আমাদের family, a lot of members of Bayla, সবাই না, but a lot of members in Bayla and stuff, and people watching. We are privileged to some extent. But my next question, I guess, is more like, privilege now. Let's say university, especially for girls. I want you to address this to girls in particular. They don't find the garments industry all that glamorous, especially into the corporate levels or managerial levels, etc. What would you say to change their viewpoint, if you had to keep it very brief and just say points, if I would put that message out to girls that even consider this industry?
Okay, so if I'm going to be 100% honest here, I think there is a lot more work that you can do.
As honest as you can.
Thanks, I appreciate that. If I'm going to be completely honest, I would say that there is more work that we can do to make the industry more welcoming to women.
Yeah, for sure.
So to give you an example, the Better Work did a study in conjunction with the IC, I believe, on the number of female supervisors that there were in garment factories, and I believe they worked across 28 garment factories between the years of 2016 and 2017, and they found that 80% of operators on the sewing floor level were women. But when you looked at the number of supervisors that there were, the representation didn't match the number of women that there were on the lines. And they worked on a program that kind of addressed some of the needs that those women may have in order to make better supervisors, or in order to just become supervisors. It was the fact that there was an effort made to recognize specifically the needs of those women, the particular skills that they may need to be able to compete alongside men. In that supervisory role. And what they found was, in the aftermath, sort of having run that program, when the women that underwent the training, became supervisors, there was a 5.5% increase in efficiency in those lines.
Excellent. So you back it up with numbers. I like that.
Yeah, so there's an element of equality, but then there's an element of equity as well.
Yeah.
And that means recognizing that needs may be specific to specific groups of people.
Yeah.
And by giving them the tools required to address those needs, then we can reach a level of equality.
Nice.
So that, using that example, I think there is work that we can do in the industry to help women sort of progress in their careers.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think also there is sort of like this misconception that the garment industry isn't necessarily for women, that women won't progress. That, you know, it's very hard. It isn't, you know, there isn't the support. The support is coming about gradually. It is there. I do encourage women all the time to try and join. I push for like more female merchandisers.
Yeah.
But I will also say that as much as I want to welcome more women to participate, as much as I want to support women to do better across the industry, I do think that effort needs to be sort of, you know,
মানে অন্যদের করতে হবে, খালি আমি আর তুমি করলে হবে না।
কয়েকটা ফ্যাক্টরি করলে কিন্তু that's not enough. আমাদের সবারই এটা করতে হবে। And I think if we do, we definitely have the means and ability to support and encourage women to do better in their careers. And I do think we'll see good results if we do so. But আমাদের একটু, I think it needs to back.
I know. You back it up with the numbers of the efficiency as well. To people watching, if you watched this far, what I'm actively doing is also encouraging ladies to, you know, ask for becoming supervisors or to apply for it, or to, you know, giving them an open platform to express this. And I would say that we encourage this because we could reap some really good benefits from this as an industry while promoting good practices. Customers in the West definitely like to see these. They like to see these changes. And it's better for society. Let's be real. It's only, I mean, because of female participation, the garments industry is where it is today. So naturally, we all share our workload. So, Raisha, something that I really like is your detail to research and the fact that you research and you find out things through research. I'm going to say research one more time because it sounds cool.
Really drive home that point.
Have you found, what are your views on research in the industry? You've been dabbling in this for a while now, I've seen, and you're very articulate about all of this, so I admire that. So I would like to know, research korte giye ki learn korso, ki mone hoy, because research is definitely enough now. And people don't do research because it doesn't pay them anything monetary or tangible back in the short run. Long run ashbo, but short run it dena. So it almost discourages people. I mean, people are almost self-discouraging when it comes to research. Obviously, people like you and I know research করলে না সামনের স্টেপটা নিতে পারবো or evolve or change the system. But just tell me your thoughts. Research করতে গিয়ে, what have you come across and how do we encourage more research? Because we all know societies that do more research, businesses that do more research, they are more successful, and this is a fact. You can Google that if you like.
Okay, so prior to joining the garment industry, so I joined about 4 years ago. I used to actually be a researcher in an entirely different trade. I was a researcher in Paediatrics in the UK. So for about, I want to say about 6 years, I've worked on like various research efforts for children, be it like safeguarding programs. I work with children with epilepsy, for example, developing wearable technology. And what I can say without a shadow of a doubt is the value of research is you cannot, I cannot put a number on how valuable good research is. And without evidence, what does research do? You use it to generate empirical evidence. And in the absence of empirical evidence, you cannot drive effective policy change.
No, you cannot.
That's what's important. And that's what we need as an industry. We are at a crossroads at the moment. We are changing direction. Like I said earlier, like the way that we're working is changing. And this cannot be sort of across the industry without policy. Now, this is ubiquitous across all areas. If you look at healthcare, if you look at justice, whenever policy is issued, it's backed by research evidence. So good quality research is absolutely the foundation for directing change.
Right, completely agree with you. Well said. I mean, even if we look at something that is right in front of us, let's look at this microphone. It's from a brand called Audio-Technica, right? I'm sure this is not the first microphone they've manufactured. ওরা যদি প্রথমে একটা microphone বানায়, and we microphone probably not as good quality as this, right? If they did not do any research, we would not have this today. In this line of work, it is applicable as it is applicable to the line of work that manufactures this coffee mug, to the people who are printing your notepad, to the glasses that I'm wearing. So আমরা যদি কাপড়ই বানাই, t-shirt, এগুলো বানাই, shirts বানাই, garments বানাই, it is in our best interest, especially since we are a multi-billion-dollar industry. I keep emphasizing that because people say garments industry অনেক বড়. কত বড়? Please understand, it is in the billions. It is huge. We're global number 2.
Highest foreign revenue generator.
There we go. We survive off of this industry, right? It's our biggest asset. So naturally, if the industry is so damn big, we definitely should do more research when it comes to taking it forward, progressing it, etc., etc. আমি বলবো না যে we don't do enough research. There is plenty of research being done, but I would say that there is significant scope for more policy alterations and improvements via research, because now with BJMA and their new you've been to the new building, right?
Yeah.
Freaking nice, right?
It is a very lovely building. I wouldn't mind doing some meetings.
It was always a lovely building. You know when I thought it was lovely? When I sat on a desk. It was a flat. I think you were there.
Yeah.
I sat on the desk and Ashad was there. He presses a button and the thing just like flips up like this. And it's got USB-C, USB-A, power chargers, everything. It's got like a whole interface and stuff. You press it and it just goes down again. It's like, wow.
Do you know the bit that I like is that wherever on the table you pop your phone, it starts to charge.
It starts to charge. I
was like, wow, I didn't even know this technology existed.
It's pretty sick. So now that BGME is opening up their innovation center and stuff, we're very optimistic with BUFT as well and BGME. But I would say that the time is now. It's not like I'm
No, it's now or never.
We sort of have to do it ASAP, and I'm not talking about efficiency improvements. Efficiency does not only come from line-wise improvement. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it's just a one-sided equation. It comes from multiple things, especially as you're working with your workplace environment, your workers' understanding of what they are doing. If you just teach them that তোমার কাজ হচ্ছে plane machine operator, তোমার কাজ হচ্ছে এই machineটা চালানো, I feel like that's not enough. That's really, really not enough. Because if somebody's working on a plane machine, but you also make them understand aspects of quality, and it only takes 2 meetings to gather everyone around and explain this on a whiteboard. Even it's very easy. Like it's simple business making t-shirts. Okay, let's be real. It's not rocket science.
No.
It could be significantly more complicated. But if you teach them to look out for quality issues while they're guiding the fabric through there, and which areas to look at, the neck or the shoulder or the armhole, etc., you could really minimize a lot of issues that come up at the end of the production line. You could stop it. So I feel like now, how would you know to train your workers like that? You'd have to do some research into it. You'd have to conduct a research.
What's the best way to do it?
Let's say I tell you the Raisha Institute to come over here and do some research, and then you take 200 of my workers and you try this out with them, and you hire female supervisors and stuff. And it's a huge success, and you have 200 workers. And then you decide, and this is the beauty of research, then you decide, I'm a model that our team of friend like let's say you come to me, you go to Simon, you go to Aki or someone, right? And you do that, and then you find out on average 5 to 7% margin. Now you're onto something, right? And I'm pretty sure it's research that led to the creation of stuff like blockchain, if I'm not mistaken.
Possibly. Unfortunately, I'm not very well versed in blockchain.
No, it's possibly someone going over a system trying to change it or find out more, and when you try to find out more, when you ask more questions, you get more answers, plain and simple.
I mean, like you said with the mic example, change is incremental.
Yeah.
And those incremental changes come about as a result of someone with enough initiative and curiosity to to look into what we could do differently.
Yeah.
And like you said, the inauguration of the BGMEA Innovation Center, the timing is magnificent. Bayla is also doing work on facilitating research as well. It is.
By the way, thank you for all your work with Bayla.
Oh.
Just expressing my gratitude while I have the time. Please go on.
Likewise. This is a joint effort.
Clap for ourselves. You clap for ourselves. Think self-absorbed people on the podcast need to guys, Raisha's very humble. I'm just joking. So, please go on. I totally threw you off.
Allow me to do that.
My bad. Please go on.
No, I was saying the necessity for this effort to recognize where we need to focus our efforts is imminent. It has to happen now. And there's so many areas that we could be focusing on.
Yeah.
So what we've witnessed in Bangladesh to date is that there has been a lot of research that's taking place within the sort of R&G industry.
Yeah.
But much of that has been sort of third sector driven, which is great. This is fantastic. We've seen fantastic results. Because of this, the example that I gave earlier with the Better Works intervention, again, 5.5%, that's a good number that we can work with.
Yeah, for sure.
But the issue is a lot of the kind of, how do I phrase this? The motive behind a lot of this research is how to help individuals who are sort of like on the fringes, the minorities, people who we can collectively work together to alleviate.
Yeah.
There also needs to be research within the industry on how to make the industry better, how to make it more profitable. Now, profit isn't the only agenda here.
Yeah.
But profit is essential for business longevity.
We could all do with a bit more profit.
Like, how do we drive better efficiencies so that we can continue to grow the industry, so we can continue to sustain the industry?
Yeah.
That needs to come from within the industry itself.
I also agree with you on this, and I also think that recent times, in some interview or magazine person asked me, what are you doing to cut down on all your costs, right? And I replied to him, what the hell do you mean cut down costs? Like, what has gone down for me? আমার তেলের দাম কমছে, আমার গ্যাসের দাম কমছে, আমার পানির দাম কমছে, ইলেকট্রিসিটি কমছে, আমার আলু, পটল, চাল, পেঁয়াজ, টমেটো, টি-শার্ট, লেদার আইটেম কিছুর দাম কমে নাই, চায়নার ইম্পোর্টের দাম কমে নাই, port charges, logistical charges, কিচ্ছু কমে নাই. How can you expect me to be cutting costs? I need to work on maximizing profits through being more efficient, and we have to be able to say this, it's very important. I want to hear your thoughts on this because we are running out of time. But this is the last point that I want to ask you about. I feel we should have the mindset to ask for higher prices as well. Sensitive topic, I know. Whoa, higher price jabo Bangladesh থেকে, how come? It's atrocious. But I think at one point we really have to understand that cheap is not a nice tag to have. Bangladesh, cheap garments sourcing destination. Cheap is not a nice tag to have. I'm just talking about a coffee, a cheap coffee. Does it encourage you to drink it? Yeah. If I tell you the microphone is cheap, are you gonna think it's a very good quality microphone, or I want to buy a lot of this? No. Maybe if you're giving it away to someone, you want the cheap stuff. Let's be real. Some people might be like that. But when it comes to your business, yourself, etc., you would not value cheap, right? So yeah, it's good to be price competitive, but I also think we should be able to ask for our fair share or fair worth as per the costs and stuff we face today. What do you think?
I think price points need to reflect investments that individual factories have made. Correct. In terms of improving sort of key areas of welfare, for lack of a better word. If a factory has invested substantially in, like recycled ETP, recycle your water, for example. If a factory has invested considerably in equality on the production lines. If a factory has invested in sort of innovations, whatever the area, that needs to be reflected in pricing. I think more often than not, Bangladesh is treated as sort of, like you said, the place that you go to for cheap cheap clothing, cheap homeware, whatever. But that's not the case. We are moving towards a country that has a gold standard in terms of some of the factories that we have.
Value addition and stuff.
Yeah, we're working towards value addition.
Yeah.
And I do agree that that needs to be reflected in price points. Now, if you're offering, say, a high S&V garment, then you're not going to be the cheapest.
Of
course not. If you're offering a high S&V garment and you have a LEED certified platinum factory, then you cannot, your pricing cannot, someone cannot come along and expect that pricing be the same as a factory, be it in Bangladesh or elsewhere, that isn't offering the same standards.
Totally.
We've worked extensively with Aqua Alliance and RSC and Europol, etc., to ensure that the conditions of work are exquisite.
Yeah.
And that needs to be reflected in the prices that we have and the prices that brands are willing to pay.
The brands should get to hear your opinion on this topic. Hey, Sakib, buyer ka se pathai diyo. It's a snippet, you know. Maybe it's a long shot. You gotta try, right? Raisha, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I want to carry on, but I can't because Sakib came and showed me his watch. So I asked him to dance, but he didn't. But he showed me his watch, which will suffice for now, I guess. It was an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
My pleasure having you here. And some bottom lines are we have to focus on research. We have to focus on empowering more females to join the industry, to participate more actively. And fingers crossed for the coming year. Best of luck to everybody because it's not going to be an easy ride, but we'll have to do our best. Our resilience is our only strength. So
absolutely, it'd be interesting to have a chat with you again in about a year's time.
Yeah, we can do a follow-up. Raisha Sajjad Part 2, the outcome. We'll make it like a movie. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. If people have tuned in this far, our loyal fans, Mr. Mahir Manan, fans of Bayla, thank you very much. And we will see you next time.
Thank you, Isla.